with Spirit Divine, that love, that faith and harmony, that loving presence that wells up within inside of each of us, heart connected, right here in this place and space, through our online, with our children and our music and our sound, and the talk that comes directly guided as Spirit through Kaleem. What a blessing for us to be here this morning to say that I see you. You are loved. You are joy. Please join me in affirming. And so it is. We are an interfaith gathering, a spiritual community that honors all teachings and all spiritual teachers. And now we begin the ceremony that celebrates this oneness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths come for the one universal presence, which we call Spirit. Our candlelighter this morning is Dana. Woo! Thank you for saying yes. See how easy it is to say yes? You just show up. And someone who's here says, would you mind lighting the candles this morning? And so let us begin. The Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. Shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of pristine spirituality. Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The last candle is a healing candle of love, of peace, of light. We invite you in the stillness of your own mind to bring to awareness the names of anyone you wish to be included in this healing flame of love, light, and peace. Now that our flames of faith are fully lighted, we move forward into our celebration, realizing and reaffirming that all paths lead to God. Our candle lighting and our sacred reading today go directly with the talk and with our workshop that happens afterwards that I'll give more details about in our announcements. I'm going to ask that you repeat after me each part of our sacred reading today. This comes from the excerpts What We Believe from Ernest Holmes' 1927 when he wrote the Declaration of Principles. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one and absolute. We believe all people are individualizations of the one Spirit. We believe the ultimate goal of life to be complete freedom from all discord of every nature. We believe in the direct revelation of truth through our intuitive and spiritual nature, and that anyone may become a revealer of truth who lives in close contact with the indwelling God. We believe in the internal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of life to all. And so it is. More music. Yes. Good morning. I am Karen Blair Sherman, and I am one of the licensed practitioners here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. And I am so happy to see so many familiar faces and to see some new faces too, or some friends that we haven't seen in a while. And so, if you've been here before, you know that one of the things that we love to do the most is prayer. Yes, prayer. Pray. And there's many ways to receive prayer or to pray. And one of those ways is to tap one of the people on the shoulder that I'm going to ask to stand right now. Please. We have Linda, we have Kaleem, Rev Dawn, Bob, Judy, Cynthia, myself, and Ann and Robert next door. There are plenty of us for you to go. Tap, tap, please pray with me. Please know my struggles and help me move to something else that's full of like joy, right? That we just sang about. Or I have so much joy in my life. Please help me continue that charge of joy because I am feeling that. I am feeling blessed and I just want to keep moving in that direction. We are here for it all. And I regularly tell people, I think every time that I stand here, that I too use that. All the practitioners use that. I call Rev Dawn, Kaleem, Linda, many people regularly. Sometimes it's hard to get a hold of someone, so I just keep calling until I get somebody to answer. Because in that moment, I am struggling and I want to move past that. This morning, my tummy wasn't feeling so good because I had some new medicine that I'm taking. And because it wasn't in my prefrontal cortex, I forgot my superpower. And my superpower is? Prayer. And I know this. And so as soon as I started praying, my stomach started feeling better because I did not want to be stuck in the feelingness of illness. I want to be knowing that my body is a supercharged modem all by itself, and it can heal itself instantaneously. And so, with that being said, there's also other ways that you can receive prayer. In front of you, for the seat that's in front of you, you will see a prayer request. You can fill that out, put it into the box that's to the right as you walk in. Cynthia will send those out to the practitioners. We will know that for you all week. And also, as soon as you wrote it down, the prayer is instantaneously going out. We're just putting charge to it. And then also, there's some cards over there near the box. You can pull one of those. You can call any of us and ask for a longer session. You also can call here to the center, and Rev Dawn will call you back and do prayer with you. If you are online, there are several ways that you too can receive prayer. If you need prayer right now, write your name and let someone know. There are practitioners who are online waiting and willing to make sure that you receive prayer. Also, there's a place for you to click, and then you can fill out a prayer request, and Rev Linda will send those out to us again for us to know for you all week. But like I said, as soon as you write that prayer, it's already a done deal. That or something better. We have ways for you to say yes. We have some announcements. And so right after our workshop, right after our service today, Kaleem, who is doing the talk, has a wonderful workshop about life visioning process. It's your soul purpose. Where do we go from here? It will be from 12:30 to 1:30. We also want to thank Ann and Dana Dana was the person who lit the candles for the beautification of our center and its holiday bliss. And so thank you so much. We have a Christmas Eve service that is coming December 24th. That will be from 6:30 to 7:30. If you would like to join the choir, another way that you can say yes. And I heard some beautiful voices out there, friend with a hat and wife beside him, that would love to. I mean, it's directly coming this way. I can't help but notice. And so you could say yes. And we have our first practice will be this coming Saturday. And what time? I'm sorry, I can't remember. 4 o'clock Saturday. All you have to do is show up, friends. And then before that, we have our solstice that will be happening Saturday, December 21st from 6:30 to 7:30. The doors will open at 6:15. The theme is peace, joy, and hope. There will be singing, drumming, meditation, spoken word, candle lighting. Yes, 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 thank you. For those of you who don't know me, the winter solstice is my favorite holiday. So I love the solstice. And then the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living, yes, Kaleem always brings this wonderfulness when he talks. And I asked him today about what really brings him joy about speaking, and he said that it's his life purpose. And if you know Kaleem, you know this. He has insightful sharings. He's always been a talker. One of his talks that he gave, I remember he talked about that he's been talking since he was a young boy. And so he's always known that this was his life work, and that bringing people together through connection and harmony is a part of that. And so I am very much looking forward, brother, to listening to what you have to share with us now and for the workshop. Rev Don, do we have a minister's moment? Okay.
Thank you. Let's give a hand for the beautiful song. Right. See, a day like Christmas. Let this be the day. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to...
One moment.
Yes. I love some of the themes I heard from that song. Of course, the intention of Christmas, of peace, and if we do that every day in our own particular way, what a wonderful world we co-create. And speaking of that, of course, I want to tell a story about a village or a community. Okay, and this community is called Harmony. In this community called Harmony, every so many years they get together and they decide what they want to do with these empty lots that keep appearing in our city. You know, this is prevalent, particularly when I was visiting some of my relatives recently, and I have a nephew who lives in Detroit, and they actually have lots of vacant lots, and they go through a process of deciding how they're going to use it. And so let's imagine this village or this city called Harmony. And this is what they do every periodically. They get together and decide what we're going to do with this lot. Now, this particular year was a particularly large piece of land, a large lot. And so they got together and they created a referendum, and they had 3 choices to vote on. They could vote, there was a clear debate and discussion about the land should be used for the children, as the song said, right? We could create these wonderful playgrounds with safe material, and the children are our future, and they're vulnerable. We need a better place for our children. And they made their point at the community council meeting. Another group of people says, what we need is a place to grow healthy food and nutrition, and to come together as a community in harmony and learn how to become more sustainable in our natural environment. This is really important to us for our long-term sustainability of our city. There was another group who was very animate. We need revenue. We've got to use this garden, whatever we're going to build together, to create profit for the city. You think those children need some help? We need to pay for those children's help, right? And they were just adamant. This has to be a for-profit garden. Okay? So so the debate went on and on and on. Now comes the time to vote. And of course, everybody anticipated that their side was going to win because they made the best argument. Well, the end of the vote came out. The group who wanted a for-profit won. And oh, what a mess that created. Well, welcome here to the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. Okay. And my topic of my talk today is after the V.O.T.E., after the vote, where do we go from here? And this talk was, but also, of course, we naturally are going to think the political arena we have here today. But I would like for, what's really important to me when I give talks, as Karen said, okay, is that we not only speak about what's happening globally or nationally, et cetera, but is it equally important, if not more important for your personal soul, what's going on in your personal life? For some of us, this big political thing is really a big deal. And I recall during the time period of Katrina, the storm, when I was in Denver during that time period, there were three things going on in my life when I was visiting my family in Denver. Number one, there was a wedding, and I attended that. Of course, Katrina was on the news all the time, and that was a really big thing, heart-wrenching. And I had a brother in transition. We just moved, during those very days, we had moved him into hospice. And I was providing prayer. My role was to provide prayerful care to him and discussion. In fact, it was my brother who during that transition, asked me the most powerful thing in my life that really reset my life purpose. During this transition, he said, "Brother, will you teach me to pray?" That was a really important moment to me. After all the global things, the national thing and tragedy was going on. So I would encourage you and I, as we talk today, as I share my talk today, we are the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living. We care about your individual life and what's going on in your life. Like me, you might have some family member in transition. Like me, you may have a child who when I raised my children, who experienced a chronic illness. Some of you may have gone through, like I went, a heart-wrenching divorce, separation divorce. Okay, that was very personal in the middle of all these global things going on. So I want to encourage you to to think about, maybe in addition to the national things, the global things that's going on in our world, wars and the devastation that we're experiencing, to also think about your personal life. The vote, as we know from my talk that I gave about 4 weeks ago to the date, okay, is about the vote. At that time I said, be the vote. And I gave us a warning that there was a storm coming. There was two storms coming. One was there was a weather prediction that there was going to be a major snowstorm 2 days from that Sunday that I was talking. They happened to be Tuesday, okay, of the same day of a political storm many of us were anticipating. Well, guess what? How life works out. That snowstorm never showed up. Isn't it interesting? Now, so it's important to prepare for those things, but sometimes they never show up. The political storm for some people did show up. And it was like the community called Harmony, okay? And isn't this true about when we have a community, which means a partnership, relationship with someone or somebody, like a personal relationship, a family or a community, there's differences of opinions. And sometimes we have to go through what's called storms in our relationships, both personally, locally, and globally. And the question is, after we make a decision, now sometimes, for example, a decision is a medical condition. I remember a medical condition one of my children was having, and finally we got a diagnosis of what's going on with him. It was devastating, not satisfactory. And we were told this is going to be a lifetime journey. We were not happy with that, dissatisfaction. I'm going to say also personally, I went through a divorce, a separation divorce. Very painful. Then the decision was made, and the judge made it, and we made the decision, along with the judge, made the final decision, okay, and it was over. And guess what? After those decisions, sometimes people are neutral about it. Sometimes people are very happy about it. And sometimes there's a great dissatisfaction about it. And what we go through when we make those lifetime decisions, like when we realized my son had this chronic, potentially lifetime illness, it was like a new life had now been born, whether we liked it or not. Sometimes in relationships, right, in the separations, et cetera. Well, it's a new birth now. A new life has begun. whether you like it or not. And I also want to say this also. So today's topic, of course, is mostly about when we have contention in collective decisions. However, the same thing happens when we fall in love, right? A new life has now begun. The same thing happened when I was in that, as Robert mentioned, one of his great lifetime experiences was true for myself when I was in that birthing room with one of my sons, okay? And I had even though you went through all those breathing classes and the support, the mom's classes and everything, but once it happened, I had a soul experience. I call it my birth, in addition to my son coming into the world. So these are harmonious things as well that happens. And there are times of stress and strife. Where do we go from here once those harsh decisions are made? Now remember now, most times in community decisions, community means a couple, a family, or local or global. Some people are happy. Some people are very sad. And some people have said, whatever. Right? That's the mix of life in society. Okay. But I want to encourage us to, of course, here at the Alaska Centers of Spiritual Living, we're always looking to look for the spiritual answer. Because as Karen mentioned, the main thing we do here at the Alaska Center for Spiritual Living is pray. And this prayer shows up in many ways and means. As a matter of fact, I want to invite you, as Karen mentioned, after today's talk, around about 12:30, we'll have a workshop on, and it's actually a experience shop, okay? We're going to actually experience using a form of prayer and meditation called visioning. And some of you may be familiar with it. This particular prayer was coordinated, I'll call it, because it's always been existed for eternity. But this particular method came through Reverend Dr. Beckwith of the International Spiritual Center out of California, that we have adopted as part of the Center of Spiritual Living more than 15 years ago by now, I guess, as one of our standard spiritual practices. So we're going to experience that today. And then I also want to invite you to not only think about the global things that are happening, national things that are happening, but once again, I always want to encourage you to think about what's your personal things that are happening. And this visioning process can assist you in that as well. So where do we go from here when we have these messy situations happen? Well, once again, I'm gonna play off the theme that Robert and I were talking about right before the service started, the birth process, okay? New birth. I imagine most times we're happy with the birth. I found out when I gave workshops, Kaleem, don't always use birth as a pleasant experience. Okay, okay. Because one time in a workshop, I said, just imagine a cuddly newborn baby, da-da-da-da. Then I asked the audience, what was your experience in that meditation when I used, and one person said, oh, the smell of a new baby. Oh, cuddly, warmth and love. One lady said, work. Okay, all right, so it's a different experience. And also we do know that after the birth, we have what's called afterbirth, right? Now today we call it, when I grew up, they called it afterbirth. And of course that's the placenta and all the wonderful things that come along with the birth process. And of course, sometimes that can be considered a messy experience. As a young person, I had the opportunity when I worked in the hospital to experience that direct, even prior to my adulthood, to experience it as an older teenager. And I go, oh my God, right? And it was considered waste, am I correct? So after this whole experience, the afterbirth was a mess. But now we know with higher consciousness, in the middle of that mess is a message. In the middle of that mess is what's called stem cells that are the keys to life. Isn't that something? A messy mess is a message of life, hope, and possibilities. And today we know that in that so-called mess, there are stem cells. Now, and I had to refresh my memory what stem cells are. These are cells that are universal, which means they can become anything the body needs. The stem cell says, oh, there's a consciousness that says this body needs eyes. The stem cells, I will become eyes. There's a consciousness that says, this body needs ears. These stem cells say, oh, we'll become ears. There's a universal consciousness in the human body that says, we need a brain. And these stem cells say, oh, we'll become brains. Isn't that interesting? And of course, what we do here as metaphysicians, we're looking for the message, the meta, the spiritual behind the out picturing. Isn't this how spiritual living works and spiritual consciousness? There's a universal something that we call by many names. As Karen was reading the sacred reading for today, we call it the absolute, the infinite, the one, also called God. It is so infinite that it is whatever you and I need. In the scriptures, they say it is spirit, it is light, it is love. In the Old Testament, they have all type of names for it: Elohim, Yahweh, Allah, in Islamic traditions, right? It goes on and on and on. What do you need? Oh, I'll become that. In some place we heard a guy was walking, a sheep walking, taking care of the herds, right? And he ran to a fiery bush. And this fiery bush gave him a message, what to do. And he said, this is Moses, for those of us who are not Bible studiers. I gotta remind myself, right? Okay. And Moses asked this fiery bush, but when I go to the people, who should I say who you are? And the message was, I am that I am. And then I heard later on, in about 10 or more years ago, I heard this wonderful talk on that message called the Moses Code. I am that I am. Stem cell. What do you need? Do you need a comforter? I am that. Do you need a leader or a guider? I am that. Do you need some more ideas of how to live life more prosperous? I am that. That's why someone said he's not only the comforter, but also a counselor. What do you need? A counselor? I am that. Do you need love? I am that. I am. Isn't this a wonderful understanding when we lean upon spiritual consciousness? So what do we need today in the midst of your personal challenges? What do we need today in the midst of your local community needs? What do we need today in terms of our national consciousness? I am that. I am that. I am that. I am. What do you need? Now the question is, how do we get there? How do we utilize this great I am? Well, we've been knowing for ages untold, and that's why I wanted Karen to really emphasize our candlelighting service that we do here is very, very important. It reminds us that we stand upon ancient wisdom. We are a New Thought organization, but we stand upon ancient wisdom. And we honor all the paths that the I am showed up as, meeting the needs of humanity. We stand upon the ancient wisdom of the Nubian Egyptian. They had a life philosophy called Ma'at, in which it was about oneness and community responsibility. We stand upon the Torah, Judaism, from Psalms 37:5. Commit your way to the Lord and trust in Him. He will act, be your guide. I am. What do you need? In Christianity, Jesus' teachings that when you call upon the Father, your kingdom, which means God's kingdom, will be done not only in earth, which means in our earthly matters, as it is in heaven. In the Quran, whosoever relies upon Allah, then God will be your sufficiency. Turn to the infinite presence of God. In Bhagavad Gita, perform your duty without attachment to the outcome. What do you need? Neutrality? I am that. and also in many indigenous, what I call the premier or primary traditions, and teachings about the cyclical nature of life. Don't worry, this too shall pass. It's a cycle. Seasons come and seasons go. All I know is this: when I accepted the wonderfulness of this newborn baby, and then the work began, right? The raising of it, right? And all the challenges you go through in raising children. All I know is that when I went through my divorce and separation, the painfulness of it and the messiness of the emotions, but yet I stayed on mark with the great I am. All I know, peace came, harmony came, and wonderful relationship came. Okay, and so this is my personal experience. This is what I know. So we're encouraged to do like it reminds us in John 14, 16 through 17 in the New Testament, when Jesus was transitioning, ascending into heaven. He says, "I will ask the Father." You need a father? We'll give you a father. Okay, I will ask the Father to give you another advocate or another comforter. Now, part of that is that, and this will help you and will teach you all things. So Jesus made a very good point. He says, you know what? And this comfort cannot come until I go away. Now, some of the metaphysical interpretations of that, because I came here on a mission and I appeared as the Word in flesh. And I did my assignment. And now you're looking at me, you're holding on to me. Oh, but there's a meta behind this physical experience. And it's called the Comforter, also called the Holy Ghost, the infinite presence of the Holy Spirit that is not embodied in any one particular person, but is in each one of us also. And he said, until this physical body goes away, the true comforter can't come. There's only some time later did his disciples get together when he had ascended. Oh, and they had this day called the Day of Pentecost, in which the ascension of the Holy Spirit descended within them, and they began to speak like tongues of fire, and their faith spread throughout the world. After the physical expression, which was a messy business during that crucifixion, that we're about to celebrate the birth of Christ in the seasons coming up now. So I just wanted to remind us that through all the changes in life and all the decisions of life, whether it's personal, local, or global, here's what we do as people of faith. We stay the course. We remember who we are and what we're here to do. As Karen was saying, now Karen, I did not always know what my purpose in life was, okay? Because I was a kid just going about life. But I went through a process of spiritual awakening, and in a workshop, okay, I was encouraged to look back over my life, right? And you begin to see this golden thread of your life events. Oh, when I was in Sunday school, enjoying Sunday school, wanted to speak up and everything, and my sisters and brothers were going, right? But for some reason, I was interested. Oh, when I was in school, and they came and made an announcement about student council, the other kids were going, right? And I go, student council? And they kind of described what it was to help the school. My hand went up. I had no idea what student council was, right? And then I got involved in elementary school, middle school, high school, then on to college, university. And then I helped co-create organizations, always for the good of the community. See, so, but once again, this is awakening. Why? Now, what really is beautiful, Karen, is when I went to a point through spiritual classes and meditation and workshops, understanding what my particular gift is, what turns me on, then my life became so much more blissful. And that is why, through my child's illnesses, through my I had a plethora of deaths within over 24 months, and divorce and the whole thing, why I did not go down with the ship. Okay, I was able to maintain now with prayer, with spiritual counseling, with tears, and I maintained the course. And what happens, like you're taking a flight, right? First of all, you take off, then he says there's some turbulence coming. Oh, this is life. Life comes with turbulence. But here's what happens when we turn to the Comforter. When we stay the course, you break through the turbulence. And now you're soaring above the clouds. It reminded me of Bob had me hiking, climbing those tall mountain peaks. And my first time in my life, walking through clouds. And then I found out if you keep, no, and I did turn back one time, my first time. I said, this is crazy. It was cold and quickly things were falling on my jacket, right? Crackling. It was in the middle of a cloud. Then I learned though, but if you keep going, then you learn that you keep climbing, oh, you break through. And then here you are above the city looking down at the clouds, above the storm. And this is called the cloud of unknown. This is what happens in spiritual growth and process. What happens, you go through a point, this is for many of us, you go through, oh, I'm going to grow, I'm going to go. And all of a sudden you reach a stage of confusion because life happens. And you're saying, this stuff doesn't work. All right? But if you have a mentor or someone praying with you, say, keep going, Kaleem, all right? And I'm code. What did Bob tell me? Walk faster. All right? But okay. All right. You guys know Bob was that bad, Bob, huh? Okay. All right. And then, but if you keep on going, you're going to have a breakthrough. That's called the cloud of the unknown. You actually lose you lose your bearings, right? If you're not experienced, you lose your bearing. You think this is not worth it. I'm confused. I can't even see. But keep climbing. And then what happens? I should say this also, in the cloud of unknown, you also get lonely, right? Because it seems like now I'm the only one on this spiritual quest. I can't necessarily talk to my relatives anymore because they want to talk about this, talk about that. I want to talk about meditation, okay? I want to talk about, ooh, did you know about this, right? But keep climbing, even though it may seem lonely for a moment, alone for a moment, but keep climbing. When you break through that cloud, you discover there are others that are living above the cloud. There are others who are living above the turbulence. There's a whole community of people up here who are living above this cloud. So in our personal life, in our local life, in our national life, stay the course of your life purpose. But Kaleem, I don't know what my life purpose is. Okay? Well, come join us after the service today. Okay? And we encourage you to, and whatever your faith, remember, we honor all faith paths. So whether you happen to be just a visitor here today, and this is interesting, and you're going to go back to your church or community, perfect. We celebrate that. Just get deep into it. Okay? And stay the course. Now, what we offer here is a lot of classes on spiritual growth and development, a lot of workshops on spiritual growth and development, a lot of praying on spiritual growth and development, because we do know that those of us who experience, and I imagine most of us here in this audience, you're here because you're the choir, right? Which means you have experienced these things before already, okay? And now, but here's what happens though, like I experienced it myself. Sometimes life hits you with a double whammy, and you find yourself in the clouds again. But now you know, you get back up and keep climbing. As Bob told me, if you want to get some rest, walk faster. We'll get to that point, right? So pray, and what that means to me, pray more, meditate more, do your spiritual practices more than ever before. Because in this city, this village called Harmony, in the middle of their disagreements, they remembered there was an elder in the community. He had been there for so long, they called him the eternal elder. And they went to this elder about all this contention about whether the garden should be for profit, for nutrition and beauty, or should it be for the children. And the prophet those for profit ended up winning, and it was a messy outcome. But they went to the elder, and they sat down with the elder, and when the elder began to speak, they listened. when the elder began to speak, that eternal elder began to speak, they listened. And from this listening, they became inspired. Because the elder reminded them, you came here to this community because it was called the community of harmony. When you came to this community, you agreed that you would contribute your individual talents and skills to maintain this community of harmony. Well, I want to remind us of something. This place called the United States of America was founded on some stem cells of eternal truth. Oh, it's been a messy journey. This country is founded on some stem cells, our eternal truth, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator. Oh, we're here in 2024 now, Kaleem. It said men. That's right, it did say. But what do you want it to say? Remember, it's stem cell. It's universal truth. At first, it wasn't just men. You had to be men who were white. Not only white, you had to be men who were white and owned land, were created equal. But guess what, though? It was a stem cell of truth, a universal truth. And if you study the history of these words, that all men are created equal, and you have the right to pursue happiness, if you understand the history behind that all came from ancient Egypt. Handed down and was stirred up through the age of enlightenment. It's all universal truth. We as human beings have been recognized for time eternal. It's a stem cell of truth. So don't give up on this country. We have turned that all men are created equal to all men who don't own land are also equal. Okay? We have turned the stem cell into all men who don't own land, mostly white men who don't own land, to all men, including black men, are equal. And then we had to turn it into, women too. Okay. And now we're saying, and then children have rights. And people with different disabilities are equal too. Isn't this a wonderful experiment in universal consciousness and the attempt to live out this ideal called democracy by the people and for the people? This is a stem cell. It's not perfect all the time, but guess what you and I can do? That Martin Luther King reminded us that there is an arc called justice. There's an arc in the universe called righteousness. And guess what? We have to bend it. Let us pray. Praise be to God. So I invite us to turn within to that infinite presence by whatever name that resonates with you, whether it's God, the higher power, the infinite one, spirit, love, life. I love to call it the infinite. And I recognize this infinite presence is here and now and forever. For it is our beginning, it is the ending that we cannot even imagine, and it is the here and the now. Because it is infinite, it expresses itself through infinite ways and means. Expresses itself through infinite ways and means. And I call upon and know this truth for each one of us here and right now. For I know that there are some of us in the audience today, whether it's in person or online, maybe listen to this days or years from now. They're going through some personal challenge of in the cloud of unknown. And I speak this word of truth. Oh, I pray this prayer that the infinite is within you and as you and all about you. And there is a solution. There is a comforter. There is light. And yes, walking through the cloud of unknown, or whatever your personal experience may be, there is harmony, there is peace, and there is prosperity. So whether the challenge may be a challenge of relationships, a challenge of financial matters, you may have a challenge of health. Oh, there's a comforter. There's an advocate. There's an eternal elder that is the infinite itself. And as we turn to it and we recognize it and we speak the word of affirmation for our good, we co-create not only our life, but the life of those around us. And there are those of us who are now concerned about not only local events, but national and global events. Oh, I speak this word that there is an infinite presence, a divine elder. And I speak this word in this very moment right here and right now, that I declare there's a breakthrough for us. There's a deep understanding for us. There's this mystery, of the comfort and the peace and the knowingness of that which is ours to do, and we are doing it. And because of this, we are creating a world, as Martin Luther King called it, the beloved community. Or as we call it, a world that works for all. Praise be to the God that is, way beyond the God believed in. And for this, I'm so thankful that it is so. So please join me in affirming, and so it is. Praise God.
We do not have children next door, but I invite you to bless the child that is within you right now and take that deep breath, because we all are children of God. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just realized it happened again. Sometimes I get so caught up in my talk, I forgot to share that those of you who were not here a month ago, the V.O.T.E, V.O.T.E means the voice of truth expressed. Okay? The V.O.T.E, V.O.T.E. Voice. And that community called Harmony, they came together in harmony, in which everyone had a place for the children. There was a place for nutrition and sustainability, and it was profitable. Okay? Thank you.
Profitable in so many ways for our children and for nutrition too. And then, so as we come to close, there were some things that really stood out for me. Kaleem, there's no accident that you felt like it was your birth when children were born, when your child was born, because I cannot remember which peoples attribute to this, but there is a group of peoples who believe that the birthday is actually the parents, when they give birth to a child, it is their birthday and is the child's born day. And so because you're giving birth to a new experience, a birth outside of yourself, a birth that goes on through generation and the stem cell. And then also something about the waste with the afterbirth. My 7th grandchild was born in July, and Desmond, and his mom is a nurse and a doula. And in New York, there's a woman who helps, I don't know if any of you have heard about it, about birth capsules. And they take the afterbirth and they put them into capsules, and the mother takes the afterbirth, which helps with the boost of nutrients, hormones, potential increasing of energy levels, and milk production. And with the other 2 babies that she had a little bit of a harder time with the milk production. But with Desmond, that baby, he was the smallest baby, and he is the largest baby at this point in time. And so I thought about that, and I thought about the stem cells that Kaleem was talking about, right? That the stem cells of the human experience, the human DNA, which has this whole big stem cell. So what are we going to digest from that stem cell to create what we were born to do? And so I would argue that, yes, maybe you were not in consciousness of what you were meant to do, but as soon as you were born, brother, the universe knew what you were meant to do. And so, walk faster, more spiritual practices. Walk faster. So please join me as we come to an end, knowing that we step in, we tune in at whatever pace is ours to take. We just step in, we say yes, and we allow it to flow and move within us. And so it is.